You've seen them in every fantasy story, winged monsters spitting fire. But what if I told you that for half the world, the dragon wasn't a monster at all? In China, it summons rain. In Europe, it hoards gold and fears the cross. The difference isn't random. It reveals what each civilization needed to survive. Today, we're diving into the Great Dragon Divide, why the West feared fire, while the East worshipped water, and how geography forged two creatures that share a name but not a soul. In the old stories, dragons were not always foes. Some guarded temples, lifting their serpent heads above the incense smoke like sentinels of the divine. Yet within a few centuries, those same shapes became the ultimate symbol of evil. The creature that once kept watch over sacred ground was now something heroes had to destroy. That turn from guardian to monster says much about how Europe's fears reshaped its myths. The dragon of the medieval imagination was a creature stitched together from older memories. You can picture it, horned, scaled, broad wings folded against a ridge of mountains, gold piled beneath its claws. It hoarded treasure, not only to flaunt greed, but to guard what humans were never meant to have. Fire poured from its mouth because the earth itself seemed to breathe flame. This monster grew from deep mythic roots, the chaos serpents that once represented the restless world before order arrived. In older tales, those serpents curled around creation or filled the oceans, embodiments of untamed nature. Over time, the European dragon inherited their shape, but not their place in balance. It kept their power and lost their purpose. When Christianity spread through Europe, that transformation accelerated. Pagan symbols could not simply be erased, they were redefined. The serpents that once warded off evil spirits or marked sacred water sources became living metaphors for sin, greed, and rebellion. The dragon came to embody everything the new faith cast out: chaos, temptation, the uncontrolled fire of the world. To defeat a dragon was to stamp out disorder itself. That's why stories of holy warriors battling them carried such force. When the hero struck, he was not only saving villages, he was restoring moral order. Each scale that fell in those old stories shimmered with a fragment of human doubt, crushed under divine will. The landscape helped shape that symbolism. Europe has mountain ranges where thunder rolls like the roar of some hidden beast, valleys cut by fire and steam, and forests that once stretched further than the light of any village. Volcanic soil, sudden storms, and lightning strikes made flame both bane and blessing. Out of that land rose the fire-breathing killer. It captured the region's relationship with danger. Taming what burned could mean survival. A dragon was the blaze that escaped control. Greed turned physical. You can almost feel why people imagined it waiting beyond the torchlight, ready to strike when human defenses faltered. Fire carried its own double meaning. It punished, but it also purified. Alchemists treated it as the key to transformation, the way base metals might reach perfection. For a mythic creature to breathe that element meant it rivaled divine creation itself. The forge and the inferno blurred together. Slaying such a being proved not only strength, but righteousness, as if to command fire, one had to defeat its living master. This gave rise to endless retellings of knights and saints, confronting beasts whose flame mirrored the corruption they feared within their own hearts. By the height of the medieval age, the dragon had become the canvas for every moral struggle: envy, wrath, avarice, pride. It was less a monster than a reflection, a dark twin showing humanity what happened when hunger for power scorched reason. In striking that creature down, heroes confirmed their own civility. The lair became a symbol of wildness subdued, gold reclaimed from chaos. The world made safe enough for faith to reign. Yet not all corners of the world saw the dragon as something to conquer. Beyond the deserts and mountains, another tradition told of dragons who brought the rain rather than fire, whose strength kept the heavens and earth in balance. There, killing such a being would have meant calamity, not victory. That is where our story flows next. What if the dragon didn't roar from mountains, but curled beneath rivers instead? What if its breath wasn't fire, but mist? Across East Asia, that was the dragon's home. Not beyond the village, but at its heart. The long, or lung, flowed through rivers and clouds, more serpent than beast, wingless yet capable of flight because the air itself lifted it. These dragons spoke with intelligence, balanced storms, and carried themselves with an elegance closer to scholars than predators. Where the Western imagination saw death in flame, the Eastern mind saw life in water. The paradox is striking. The same creature that knights hunted in Europe became an emblem of fortune across China, Japan, and Korea. One world burned at its mention, the other prayed for its arrival. The difference was not just belief, but necessity. Monsoon rains could make or destroy a harvest, decide whether a village thrived or starved. When clouds gathered, people did not fear destruction. They waited for hope to break from the sky. The dragon was that hope-given form. Its coils brought thunderheads together. Its passing filled rivers and reservoirs. You can sense how such a creature would earn worship rather than dread. Agriculture shaped this reverence. In a land where water fed every root and season, even chaos took on grace. Floods could devastate, yet the absence of rain was worse. For communities tied to cycles of planting and reaping, a dragon who commanded water was not just a symbol, but a guardian of survival itself. Unlike the fire dragon that tested warriors, the water dragon tested patience. To appease it meant balance, never excess, never neglect. Rituals evolved around that idea. Temple rites called on dragons to bring soft rains and spare the fields from torrents. When drought hardened the soil, offerings rose in smoke not to bind the creature, but to invite its mercy. Everywhere its influence moved, art followed. Imperial robes shimmered with threads shaped like curling scales, the emperor's own title proclaiming descent from the dragon's line. That single claim joined politics to divinity, as if ruling the people required an echo of heaven's balance. In paintings and carvings, dragons flowed upward with clouds, spreading light across the heavens. Festivals turned that myth into celebration. Long processions of dancers carried immense dragon figures through streets, their bodies rippling like rivers across the ground. Those movements invited clouds to gather, a shared ritual between sky, land, and people. The dragon's power was vast, but disciplined. It embodied authority that guided without breaking, strength expressed through order. The hierarchy that defined human rule mirrored the cosmic one. The dragon above, rain below, crops in the middle, people grounded in gratitude. Harmony grew from reverence. Where the Western world saw virtue in slaying a dragon, the Eastern world found virtue in serving one. To cultivate peace meant learning respect for forces greater than any sword could cut. Even the landscape seemed to agree. The sound of monsoon rain against tiled roofs, the veins of rivers stretching through mountain valleys, it all whispered the same belief. Power is safest when it flows. Pagodas stood like anchors for that current, built not to contain the divine, but to honor its wandering path. Palaces mirrored the dragon's spiral, each courtyard folding inward toward still water, a silent wish for continuing prosperity. What this means is that dragons in the East became metaphors for cooperation with nature's rhythm. They did not flaunt fire against the heavens. They carried the sky's blessing down to earth. Both dragons sought command of the elements, one by conquering them, the other by channeling them. And in that difference lies a reflection of how each world survived. In one, mastery meant triumph over chaos. In the other, it meant harmony with it. Across cultures, dragons reveal what people cherished most. In the West, they reflected the struggle to master wilderness and overcome fear through control. In the East, they embodied coexistence, a pact with the forces that sustained life. Each myth shows not good or evil, but different ways of seeking balance between power and survival. When we picture dragons now, do we dream of fire that consumes or of rain that restores? The answer tells us something about our own world. Myths are geography written in metaphor. Try seeing them that way, and even monsters begin to speak of home. You've heard the stories. Now, join the myth. Like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, what dragon from mythology is your favorite?